Hi, I'm Doc AJ Chua and welcome to Adjusting Your Heart. Our topic today is how to cultivate a forgiving heart. Many times, it's the people that we love the most that hurts us the most. Because we spend more time with them, the probability of being hurt by what they say or do is much higher. Learn the 3 effective ways to deal with our hurt feelings. How would you react when your own siblings are jealous of you because you are dad's favorite? What if they try to harm you physically or emotionally? Learn how one of my favorite Bible characters, Joseph, dealt with these issues. I was fortunate that before the pandemic, Hans, Jehan, and I were able to watch Joseph the Dreamer. That's a play by the Trumpets. I've also watched the older versions featuring Gary V, Audie Hemora, or Carlo Orosa. You try to watch this after the pandemic. So my first point is accept that not everyone will like us. Joseph's family background was complicated. His father, Jacob, didn't obey God's command to be monogamous. Instead, he had 4 wives. Imagine 4 wives fighting for Jacob's love and attention. On top of that, Joseph had 10 older brothers born from 3 different moms. Jacob's first and true love was Rachel. So it's not surprising that Joseph, Rachel's first son, would be his dad's favorite. So when Joseph was 17 years old, his dad gave him a beautiful coat of many colors. He'd report to his dad what his brothers were doing. Moreover, his dreams of becoming greater than all of his family members made his brothers hate him all the more. They couldn't speak a kind word to him and even plotted to kill him. Good thing that Reuben, the oldest, intervened and suggested that they throw him into a cistern with the intention of rescuing him. But before Reuben could rescue him, the others sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites, who in turn sold him to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials. They dipped Joseph's robe with goat's blood and told their dad that a ferocious animal devoured Joseph. Jacob was devastated and mourned for Joseph for a long time. How are things at your home? Are you in good speaking terms with your siblings? If there's favoritism in your home and your sibling receive more attention, gifts, or privileges from your parents, it is normal to feel bad. It also hurts when your boss, your friends, or colleagues would favor someone over you. Your reaction to this kind of treatment will reveal your level of maturity. Instead of being jealous or thinking of ways to gang up on that person, choose to foster better relationships. Resolve not to play favorites when you become a future parent. If you're the favorite child or employee, don't gloat about it. Rather, try to get your parents to shower attention and gifts to your other siblings. That way, if someone is jealous of you, the intensity might diminish. You can check out my previous video entitled How to Strengthen Siblings Relationships. My second point is make the most of every circumstance. In Genesis 39, we read that Potiphar put Joseph in charge of all of his household and of all that he owned. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered. Joseph was well built and handsome, and so Potiphar's wife seduced him day after day. Since he refused to sin against God and his master Potiphar, Potiphar's wife accused him of rape, and poor Joseph was thrown into prison. Yet even in prison, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners because the Lord gave him success in whatever he did. Joseph refused to wallow in self-pity and live like a recluse after being betrayed by his own flesh and blood. Instead, he made the most of his circumstance. Hence, he was promoted from being Potiphar's slave to being his manager. Even though he was thrown into prison for something he did not do, he chose to do his best to be a model prisoner. The warden saw that and left the other prisoners under his care. Joseph cared for other prisoners, and this was instrumental for him to be brought before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. He eventually became the prime minister of Egypt and Pharaoh's son-in-law. And let me end second point with a story. One day, a farmer's donkey fell down into a well. It cried piteously and caught the farmer's attention. But instead of rescuing it, he decided that it just wasn't worth all the trouble to save the old donkey. Since the well also needed to be covered up, he invited all his neighbors to help him shovel dirt into the well. When the donkey realized what was happening, it cried horribly, and then suddenly he stopped crying. It turned out that with each shovel of dirt that hit the donkey's back, the donkey would shook it up and took a step up. And pretty soon, the donkey stepped over the edge of the well and happily trotted off. So the moral lesson would be, when others shovel dirt on you, when you're down in the pits, just shake it off and take a step up until you get out of the well. Point number 3, see things from God's perspective. It was mentioned twice that Joseph prospered because God was with him. Because Joseph saw things from God's perspective, he had forgiven his brothers, even though they haven't apologized. This is evident when Joseph named his first son Manasseh, which means God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. The second son he named Ephraim and said, it is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. When a famine occurred, Joseph's brothers traveled down to Egypt to buy grain. Did Joseph use this opportunity for revenge? No. In fact, their reconciliation is one of the most touching scenes in the Bible. Joseph wept, then kissed and embraced his brothers. Moreover, he allowed all of them to live in Goshen and gave them provisions. After their father died, Joseph's brothers were afraid that Joseph might take his revenge. They reminded him that their father Jacob asked him to forgive them. They asked for his forgiveness and told Joseph that they were his slaves. This is Joseph's reply in Genesis 50, verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Joseph acknowledged that what they did to him was wrong. The saying to forgive and forget is not possible unless you have Alzheimer's or dementia. To forgive and forget means that though we still remember what happened, once we have forgiven someone, the hurt is no longer there. So forgetting means refusing to harbor bitterness. Joseph spoke kindly to them and told them not to be afraid. He reassured them that he will continue to provide for them and their families. And this is a picture of true forgiveness. He chose to forgive them instead of exacting vengeance because he trusted God. He trusted that God would work everything out for good. And this is a promise we can claim in Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So like Joseph, let's learn to trust God amid this pandemic or whatever trials or injustices you might be facing right now. Maybe your family member, friends, or colleagues have humiliated, betrayed, abused, neglected, or abandoned you. But we still have to forgive. Check out my previous video entitled Be Happy, Live Without Bitterness, in which I shared that we need to let go of painful memories, we choose to forgive, and set healthy boundaries. And another video we made, which is related also to this topic, would be Happy, Live Without Regrets. So check those out. And when we forgive, we set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner we set free is us. So how to cultivate a forgiving heart? Accept that not everyone will like us. Make the most of every circumstance and see things from God's perspective. As we start 2022, let's leave all the negativity, the regrets, bitterness, and unforgiveness behind. If you're blessed by this video, please like, subscribe, and share it to others. And do follow Adjusting Your Heart in IG, TikTok, and our FB page. So next year, we'll be starting a new series. And the first one will be how to develop your AQ, Adversity Quotient. Happy New Year, everyone!